Hello, everyone. How's it going? I'm already going to be pissing off the speakers after me because I know this is going to run long, so I apologize in advance. Feel free to walk out during the conference, during the talk. It's cool. So I want to get right into it. Of course, automatically I have to start with kittens because that's a good sign of a weird presenter. The title of this talk is Around the World in 80 Cons. It's one of the weirdest talks I've ever given because it's one of the first talks that actually halfway through my research and stuff, I actually morphed the talk into something what I wasn't expecting. So we're going to get through this. If you don't know me, I usually alternate between a attack talk one year and then a rant talk the next year. So last year was on spearfishing and social engineering. So guess what this year is going to be? It's like, there we go. So I do come with warning labels. One thing that you need to know about me that's also obvious on Google is that I like to travel. It's like I like to experience conferences all over the world, but more importantly, I like to spend at least 2 or 3 days before or after the conference and spend time actually exploring the city. I spent 11 hours walking through the Zidane district in Beijing, just exploring and just walking around in a big circle, just going around and seeing what the sites were. I've walked from the Coptic area of Cairo all the way up for 7 hours through the Nile and stuff, going up to the Cairo Tower. Also really awesome. There was a great Pizza Hut right by the Nile River, in case you're wondering. It was a great halfway breaking point. I love to go through and I like to explore different cities and explore the culture and see what it's like. So that's what I do, and that's sort of what this talk was supposed to be about. But one important thing is, during this talk, I am talking about my perceptions only. This is from my perspectives, and this whole talk is about our perceptions and how they're skewed and how we look at them. And I think Russ Rogers says it the best way. I like tacos. That means all hackers like tacos, right? Well, maybe not, but that's the way it goes. That's a perfect example of it. I can't speak for anybody but me. So this is a talk on my perceptions. Now, when I started out talking about this, I wanted to start about talking about, different cultures around the world. And when you start talking about information security and you start bringing in other countries, the first place we go to is, cyber war. It's like we start getting into nation states and stuff. What a bunch of crap, right? So let's get the crap out of the way first before we get to the real good stuff of this talk. And the best example of talking about nation states and getting those skewed numbers is, where do we get them from? We get them from reports like this. This is the Verizon Data Breach Report. You'll notice the top one was the one from 2 years ago. This one on the bottom was from last year. And I don't want to get into a Twitter war again about the numbers and stuff. They've got some good numbers. They've got some good research. It's great marketing material. Good research material. It's really good information. But if you'll notice, even from the top one, if you notice from 2 years ago, they were like sort of lacking maybe in certain areas. It's not showing a full picture of what was out there, but from what they were seeing. And then between that year and last year, they came out with a revelation. Their research department actually discovered, hey, if there's one attack in, Hoboken, New Jersey, all of America. Oh, there was something that happened in Wuxi, China, all of China. Now look how pretty our map looks. And once again, I'm not going to complain. It's still numbers. It's still something that you can use. There's some good data. There's some good sales points. There's some good things that you can take back in these reports. So, but once again, it's not maybe telling the whole picture. Trust wave, I'm not just beginning to just anybody in particular. Well, a couple points I will be, but not this time. It's like, so trust wave here, they've got the one from 2 years ago, look how awesome that one was, because who doesn't love pie, right? And it's like, but once again, the numbers are like sort of lacking a little bit, And then last year, I don't know what happened. It was just like, that looks like that's like an invite to a rave that I wasn't cool enough to go to. But once again, it's still got numbers. It's like, it's still got data and stuff, very flashy data. So it must be more important than, the world. So there's still that data, but it's still, just a skewed perspective. But this is one of my favorite sites because this is actually giving you some great information. First of all, pi. Yay. But second of all, what I liked about what hackmageddon.com does is that he actually puts the country flag of the actual slice of the pie. And because let's face it, we're in America. The only time we see countries' other flags is when we're invading them. So this is really a great head start, you know, to know what some of these countries' flags are. So awesome. But the best thing about this site, besides the data that he gives, is this awesome disclaimer. This awesome disclaimer that reads, again, no need to repeat the data that must be taken very carefully since they do refer only to discovered attacks, the so-called tip of the iceberg, and hence do not pretend to be exhaustive, but only aim to provide a high-level overview of the global cyber landscape. Awesome. That is such a great disclaimer. I'm going to overlook the use of the word cyber because that is some great data. It's like that he presents, but even with him presenting that data, he is telling you, this is only what I see. This is only the data that I've collected. This is only my perspective. This is one small facet of what's out there. So I think more need to be like that. And then you have other reports that are a little bit more technical that give you a more drilled down look from a technical standpoint. This is the digital attack map. I saw this map, and I was just like, unbelievable. This picture was not one that I took. This was all over the Twitter sphere, people talking about like, oh my gosh, this is not a screenshot from War Games, people. This is actually, you know, a data representative, you know, showing like a really massive, what it appears to be this huge, massive attack coming from China. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Except for maybe the data is not being looked at the way it's supposed to be. We're just perceiving that kind of attack. Because if you look at this was May 9th of this year, let's look at June 7th. Well, that shows a bit of a different picture. But more importantly, if you look at the legend in the lower left-hand corner, you see where it shows the big circles radiating outward. That denotes an internal attack. That denotes an attack originating from within inside the country. So just wait a minute. That means all those big red dots circling outward are coming from within the United States, not being attacked from China. But guess what? I didn't see this picture twittered all over the Twitter sphere because that didn't fit our narrative, and that really sucks. So it's like we want to make sure that we put that. And one of the biggest reports, when we talk about skewed data, when we talk about trying to make sure that we're painting the narrative the way we want it, you can't go without mentioning the Mandiant report. I don't know at what time when Richard Beatlick was a little boy in school that China came over and stole his lunch money, okay? It's like, but it was really bad. I mean, I really want to get a doll and go up to Tao and say, dude, show me on the doll where China touched your network, okay? Because, I mean, it was pretty traumatizing, okay? I mean, seriously, and it's not just my opinion that these attacks are like that and this report is so skewed. I did a Google image search for Mandiant report. I kid you not, the very first, honest to goodness, very first image search result was this. Seriously. And so, and up until a certain point, I thought this was the worst you can get on a skewed xenophobic report about what's going on. And that's until Cryptia from Twitter actually showed me this. That is one of the most racist, xenophobic pieces of crap advertisement I've ever seen. I didn't block out the person's name of the company because I stand by what I'm saying. That's my personal opinion. That is like World War II propaganda type crap. You're telling me that your product is so racist, so pathetic that you're basically a search engine in the stream looking for Chinese characters? That's it? That's all your product does? If you think your only problem and your only attack is originating from China, you need to understand where your threats are because you don't. So get out of this industry or start understanding and learning that your attacks are coming from everywhere, including next door, and including from within inside. You know, the call's coming from within the house. The attack is coming within your network. That's where it happens. So this is just ridiculous. But I'll give you a thing, okay? But let's go and let's understand something. We all have to hear China is bad. Okay, so let's go and break down how China is bad, which is going to be a little awkward because I'm going back to Beijing in November. But let's go back and look this through. China's bad because they spy on their citizens. They spy on other countries. They infect other nation computers with malware. Wow, it's like they try to censor the press, which is horrible, and they try to suppress protesters, which really isn't cool. But let's break it down even more. We're going to break it down step by step. They spy on their citizens. Yeah, that's horrible. One of the things I love the most about this is Congress is always saying, it's like, hey, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. And then all of a sudden they realize, oh, wait, the CIA was spying on our actions and stuff on their computers? That's horrible. It's all good for spying until it happens to them. Okay with us, but not them. Why is that a problem? It's like, and the best reaction to it, which was just a revelation to me, because I never knew this worked, was the CIA said, oops, sorry. And it was all better. So please, other countries realize when you create an attack and a breach in our country, just make sure you send an apology letter afterwards. And then it'll be all good. So it's like, so that's when the biggest things lacking was just, a simple, I'm sorry. It's like better than the Oracle, I did that. So the next one, they spy on other countries. People take a moment to realize this. How bad of a country or a person do you have to be to make a German look that sad? That's just, she was groped by George W. She didn't look that bad. Okay? Take a moment to sink that in. And one of the other things that really gets to me in the lower left, it says, Italian magazine says U.S. spies listened on to the Pope. The Vatican says unaware. I don't care if you're atheist. I don't care if you're Buddhist, Taoist, Christian. I don't care what you're religion. We all have to admit, admit, this is a pretty good Pope. I like this Pope. I mean, he goes out in disguise and stuff, and helps feed the poor. He's like the Batman of missionaries. It's like, this guy's great. It's like he takes selfies. Come on, who doesn't get behind that? So it's like, he is a great Pope. And you're spying on that. Now, that other guy with the red shoes, he was pretty sketchy. I can understand that one, okay? But this guy, this was a good Pope. We like this Pope. So they do that. And just for some for level of irony, is Alanis Morissette level of irony, here's this report. NSA actually attacked and breached Chinese network systems. You might say it's like, it's like payback or whatever, but I thought it was extremely funny because oops, you gotta hate it when that happens. But I think NSA sent them an apology letter, so it was all good. They infect other nation computers with malware. Well, that's an act of war. Wait, except for when we do it, it's all good. And you gotta admit, I love the way the U.S. did their denial. Their denial was awesome. Breaking into the centrifuges of Iran and creating that. How dare you accuse us of that executed, well thought out, masterfully planned, very advanced techniques? That couldn't have been us. That was just awesome. It's like, wasn't us. That was a great denial from them. That you can tell they really believed it. What else do they do? Well, they try to censor the press. And that's unforgivable. It's like, because we have the freedom of speech here. We got the First Amendment protecting us, so that's awesome. Think about this. Those two pictures in the left is Al Jazeera, who gets to go through Tahrir Square protesting Cairo, who dealt with the problems in Syria, who's being all kinds of attacks and stuff all over the world for the reporting on hot danger zones, getting tear gassed by Ferguson police officers. Then the police officers stole their equipment because America. I don't think the Al Jazeera was expecting that one. It's like, and then here you've got the police officer actually pointing the weapons at the photographers. And the best one is like this photographer in the lower left-hand corner, because that is the most photogenic, photographer getting arrested I've ever seen. He's like, yeah, I'm totally getting busted. Yep. It's like, I know this is going on the papers. I better smile. It's like, he was ready for his close-up. So it's like, so that's what happens here in the land of the free, home.
Hello, I'm Geek here. Unfortunately, the Avid Media froze up, so the slides continue, but the live video stops for a bit, and so does the audio. However, in about 1 minute from right now, you should start hearing things again. Sorry about the inconvenience.
I'm going to have to pwn your network. I'm sorry. My bad. It's like, oh, you really shouldn't have that bash still on patch. It's like, I'm going to have to take that. I apologize. Even Canada's in on the action. I mean, it's like, I'm surprised that there wasn't one in Antarctica, or maybe they just didn't have it on the map yet. So it's like, but there's some scientists down there, just getting a little, bored and stuff. What are they up to? I want to know. It's like, so you got all these things going everywhere. It's not, when we talk about nation states, when we talk about other countries, remember, we're talking about the world. It's a global thing. It's not just a specific issue, a specific country. But let's forget that crap. We're done. We're done talking about nation states. I want to talk about the hacking culture. That was what my talk is about. That's what it was supposed to be about, was talking about how hackers and how the hacking culture is around the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to say, here's my perceptions of hacking, and here's from an experience that I personally had, and then we're going to go with, and this is a survey that I sent out to people from all over the world to fill out and come back and bring back to me so I could get their perspective of the country they live in. So the first one, let's go to Asia, and let's join. And I was going to give you a perception of my first time in China. My first time in Beijing was 6 years ago when I first went, but I'm not going to talk about that one. I'm going to talk about what happened in July. Dave Kennedy went over to Beijing for the first time. I invited him over for a program I'm working with the Beijing Institute of Technology, and it was so awesome to see his reactions and see the transformation, because he starts off, at the airport, waiting for the black van, to pick him up and stuff, and take him somewhere. It's like, and then he goes, and then we go through and we're walking around and he's looking, and you can see that he's like seeing the way Beijing is, the day-to-day life. He meets the people at the college and he starts talking and having conversations with them, and he starts understanding what their opinions are and what they see and what they perceive, what's wrong with their country and their politics and our country and the way that we talk to each other. And by the end of that trip, his words to me was, dude, this was one of the best experiences of my entire life. It is amazing what we discover when we step outside of the echo chamber. It is amazing what we can see when we stop listening to other people telling us what it is. And that was one of my first experiences as well. And so I really enjoyed it. Here's from someone from the survey. This is someone from China, and he says, I did 4 questions. I did a lot of questions, but these are the 4 I stuck with. I said, what country do you currently live in, and what country have you spent most of your life in, are more familiar with? He says, I currently live in China. I spend that half between the U.S. and China. I said, how did you find out about hacking? Just a simple thought. How can I get unlimited game gold and rice at the beginning that I can beat Romance of 3 Kingdoms, which, made by Koei, is a Nintendo red-white game box back in the late 80s when I was 19, 20. I love that. He had a need. It's like, because, farming gold is hard. So he found out a way to hack it and get more gold. That's the hacker spirit, right? It's like, I want to do something, and I don't want to do, I'm going to spend, 40 hours making this bash script that'll save me 20 minutes. Because it's like, I can keep using that. So that was good. It's like, how did you find out about hacking? I already said that one. So in your region, how is hacking seen by the general public? He says, overall, it is still a trend towards negative. Public lack of understanding. Even people accepted hacking as a skill, a method, but most people stay away from it. That's not cool. I don't really like that answer, but okay, we'll keep going. In hacking in your region is seen as more for crime, hacktivist, nation state, or other. And this is a very nuanced answer to it. He says the public media defines it. It depends on official needs. Today it may be a crime. Next day it becomes national heroes. Someday it's a technical challenge. Like most of the places, a mixture. Some of criminals can be used for national interest. under certain control. Official security workers may conduct hacktivists or crime in his or her leisure time. Some can be hired by overseas interests. So basically saying some criminals get caught and get turned and asked to work for the government, which never happens here, right? And others can be like contractors that work for the government who decide to go rogue and take their secrets and go elsewhere, which never happens here either, right? So that was an interesting perception stuff, and it was actually some of the answers I wasn't expecting. So that was Asia. So let's go on next. Let's talk about Europe. One of my experiences, one of my favorite cons I like to go to is Hack in Paris and Nuit to Hack. And especially Nuit to Hack, because Nuit to Hack is a total 24-hour DEF CON. They actually hold it from like 8 or something in the morning to the next night. It's called the Night of Hacks. And it's like, so they're having this massive CTF going on. They have speakers through the morning and the afternoons toward the early evening. And then the rest of the evening, all into the morning, it is nothing but lockpick village, wireless village, instantaneous classrooms and workshops, working and just, the true essence of hacking while this massive CTF and people are pwning machines from all over Europe and stuff, coming here to pwn machines. It's awesome. It is a great thing to see. My only nitpick thing about it is that it's held at Euro Disney. And and you would think that's really a cool thing because it's sort of cool like when you're going down here. But I tell you this, there is nothing more creepier, okay, than being at the Charles de Gaulle airport in a black hoodie with sunglasses, a big silver hard-shelled suitcase with all kinds of hacker stickers on it, waiting for the Disney shuttle. I am standing there, and this little girl starts wandering over to me, and her freaking father goes over and is like, shepherds her way. And my first thought to him was, dude, not even mad. That was a pretty good call. I look really freaking sketchy. It's like, good job on that one. It's like, so that's my one little gripe with them. It's like, but other than that, it's a really great conference. Take a taxi. So there we go. So let's get some perceptions from Europe. So what country are you more familiar with? The UK. And what's really cool is this is more from an information security person, less of a hacking person. And it's like, she says, how did you find out about hacking? This is like, I worked mainly at least, that's where I became aware of it in both positive and negative forums. Prior to that, I was a naive user. I took AV and security seriously because it seemed sensible and I understood basic threats, which is good. And your region, how is hacking seen to be by the general public? Possibly as one of the dark arts. Well, then where's my wizard robe? Someone who steals data and breaks into systems for information to clone identities and take over bank accounts. Is hacking in your region seen as more for crime, hacktivist, nation state, or other? I think the UK is crime and hacktivism. This was not how my talk was going to go. This is not how I expected these perceptions to be. But I started getting these in, and these are just a highlight of some of them. I've used them like for every talk I've given mostly different ones on a lot of these, but I kept getting the same answers. And one of those is at that last one at the end. It's like, how is it seen? It's seen as crime. I'm not happy, and I just keep going. So let's talk about South America. Talk about crime. This was a funny story. I'm at the speaker dinner at this conference in Brazil, and this guy sitting next to me, and he's talking about how he's upset with the fact that there's no hacking laws in Brazil. So people see him as like a nerd or just a geek. They don't see like he's really cool or edgy. He doesn't look like an outlaw. The girls don't find him sexy because he's not like, a bandito or something. And I'm like, I'm sorry you haven't got arrested yet. That's too bad you're not a real criminal. How do you answer that? But the good news is they've enacted law since then to make it a crime. So now he's an actual criminal. So yay for him, right? So I didn't know how to feel about that one. But let's talk about what country we're talking about. We're talking about Brazil. How did you find out about hacking? One of the best answers, I think this is the second best answer that I've gotten from these surveys, was trying to get things done. Right. That's the hacker spirit right there. I need to get something done. How do I do it? It's like, and how do I make it happen? It's like, in your region, how is hacking seen by the general public? Nowadays, it's a mix of good and bad. People sort of understand hack in the day back in the early 90s. Internet wasn't quite widespread. BBSs or stolen credentials to universities were the way to go. At that point in time, unless you were doing something, you wouldn't really be aware of hacking. With online banking being implemented in 96, 97, bankers' activity started increasing quickly in Brazil. Bankers' activities is, credit card fraud and stuff breaking into the banks. And hacking in your region seems more for crime, hacktivist, nation state, or other. Considering that those don't know anything about it, just see the stuff in the news, mostly tied to crime, and sometimes hacktivism. In the corporate world, a better understanding of ethical hacking. Okay? I needed that. I was actually feeling a little bit bad, but now I'm feeling a little bit better. Thank you. So there. So that's how that was seen. So let's talk about Africa. It's like my only experience to Africa was I went to a conference in Cairo, and it's in Egypt. And I know some people are saying, Jayson, that's Middle East. Motherfucker, I need to put a continent there, and so Egypt is on the continent of Africa. It counts, okay? Don't harass me. So one of the things I saw about the Cairo conference that I thought was really cool is like when you talk to the hackers after the conference, before the conference, they're all laid back. They're like, jeans, t-shirts. That they could be in this room right now. You wouldn't even notice. But for the conference, everybody was in suit and ties. And I felt really bad for the people there for that because they made me wear a suit and tie, and that sort of didn't prepare them for what I really was and stuff, or how I really acted and stuff. They actually thought I was a normal person based on what I looked like. And I swiftly disabused them of that notion quickly. And one of my best ones is you can tell like they're taking pictures and I'm doing the rabbit ears. But my favorite one was when I was, this one guy was taking that conference pic. The conference pic that everybody takes, especially if it's your first time at a conference, you're taking that picture in front of the banner. I'm at DerbyCon. You're not. Everybody takes that picture, okay? So here's this college student, his first time at a conference, taking that picture, not knowing that there's some weird American dude in a suit going like this behind him. Best photobomb of my life, okay? So that was my perception of Egypt. And it was actually, seriously, it was a month before Tahrir Square. And I knew some of those people protesting. It was just amazing to see and see, like, I was there and see that kind of carnage and see what was going on. It was a visceral feeling and stuff, being helpless, just watching it from afar. And I talked to one of the guys that actually was a part of that. And I asked him some questions. He's like, he's from Egypt. I said, this is my favorite response. He says, how did you find out about hacking? And he says,
pictures.
But I see a theme coming here. So how did you find out about hacking? He says, he says, caught a virus 2005 because a certain person downloaded pirated game and it was backdoored. Certain person. He says, wondered how those virus words work, learned some programming first by viewing sample virus sources and walked that road and never went back. Guy got hacked and was like, crap, someone hacked. That's cool. How did that happen? Let me find out. That natural curiosity, that natural inquisitive nature of going, this happened, how do I do something about it? And so in your region, how is hacking seen by the general public? Hacking is generally viewed as hacking people's Facebook and Yahoo accounts. Let's take a moment to realize how sad that is. The people in Egypt are still resorting to Yahoo. If they didn't have enough problem, I feel bad about that. Okay, so is hacking in your region seen as more for crime, hacktivist, nation state, or other? Most viewed it as a crime. Few know about hacktivism. This was after Tahrir Square. This was after Arab Spring. This was how technology helped change a region, and they still see it as crime. Let's talk about the Middle East. One of my trips to Lebanon, I got to meet this really cool hacker dude there. And we were talking, having a discussion. He had his laptop, and he thought it'd be really cool to show me something. So he's like, I gotta show you this. So he opens up this computer, types in some stuff, and he brings up this command panel and stuff, for their national telecom system. He's like, I'm admin on it. He's like, for the last 4 years. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? It's like, are you getting like free minutes now? Or are you like just getting other people's records? He's like, no, I'm still paying my bill. It's like, I just got admin. And I just love that because it's literally the wild, wild west out there. It's just, all good. So so I really like that answer. That was, very adventurous. And so here's a response from Lebanon. It says, how did you find out about hacking BBS and the MIRC? So, he was a Windows user back in the day. In your region, how is hacking seen by the general public? There's a huge lack of awareness, also lack of exposure to more evolved countries hacking-wise, and just recent high-speed connections made it difficult for young people to grow up with good access to that culture. Most of the internet that you get in Lebanon is through mobile hotspots. There are hardly any landlines going directly to anywhere. So it's like your internet is usually something that you carry in your pocket. In hacking in the region seen more for crime, hacktivist, nation, state, or other. Again, the lack of awareness results in people just hearing about hacking on the news, and since media just reports cyber criminals, that is the way hackers are seen in general. So let's talk about North America. That's I will have to be honest and stuff, it's like Bruce Potter is one of the only people that I'll give a non-consensual awkward hug to because Heidi gives me permission and it's so much fun to chase him down. That's the one from last night, actually. It's like he really tried to throw me, didn't underestimated my weight factor and totally immediately regretted that decision. Because that means I just mounted him and I was like, I'm here to stay, buddy. So that was a good order. And let's talk about, since I want to gin up the crowd and stuff, let's talk about DerbyCon is my experience here. And also Dave's in the room and he's looking at me guiltily. So I'll mention there are some great conferences here and stuff, ShmooCon, I'm a DEF CON fanboy, obviously. It's like, but I will tell you this, I started my family and I started getting involved into hacking through DEF CON. But in the last 4 years, DerbyCon has become my sanctuary. It has become my place where no matter what drama goes on, no matter what happens, I know I'm surrounded by friends. know I'm surrounded by people that I feel closer to than my real blood family. And I don't care if they know because they're probably going to watch this later. It's just the way it is. It's like, so this is what it is. It's like, and I love this conference for that. It's like, it's for that spirit. It's like you see people out there and stuff, in the lobby, and these badges are meaningless, people. It doesn't matter what color your badge is. You're here to learn and you're here to spread knowledge. Everybody. And that's one of the places that you see that. You see that here. And it's like huh? And Smirnoff Ice. Yes, you get ice here. It's like, so thank you for that valuable tidbit there. So let's talk about North America. The USA. How did you find out about hacking? I thought this was really good. First experienced it with my roommate, was talking smack in an AOL chat room. Old school. Hacker changed my screensaver to immediately scroll, "You've been hacked," which, I just saw that in the movies. As soon as the mouse stopped moving. In your region, how's hacking seen by the general public? Negative for the most part. We are demonized and publicized as criminals. Is hacking in your region seen for more crime, hackers, nation state, other criminal through public's eyes? This was not my talk. My talk was supposed to be about the hacking cultures around the world and our diversity. Our talk was supposed to be about how Malaysian hackers are into hacker spaces, how the German hackers do cryptography, how the Brazilians are into bankers. It is not about this. I do a research and I do a talk about how we're supposed to be diverse and how we're supposed to be different. And I find one thing that unites us. Everybody sees us as criminals. And I'm not happy about it. And you shouldn't be either. This is not who we are. But that is how we're seen. Where did this happen? This is who we come from. This is where hacking started. Alan, why is it there? There we go. That totally ruined my talk. I got so excited, I just kept pushing buttons. But this is who we come from. Alan Turing, the godfather of cryptography, saved thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of lives during World War II. A great knowledge and resource for our community until he was castrated and then committed suicide because his lifestyle offended the people he saved. What about Nikola Tesla, the godfather of open source? And I say that because we are so bereft of so many of his inventions because he didn't want to make a profit on it, and so companies wouldn't invest in it. Thank you, sir, for your great works that we're never going to see. And what about Ada Lovelace? I'm only going to make one comment on this whole women in tech, flame war, feminist, whatever stuff, tech. One comment. Ada Lovelace was the first computer programmer. Women weren't invited to this industry. They created it. They let us in. That's how that worked. Now, she did great. She did great computer programming until she was ostracized by her family and then died from the treatment of cancer, not the cancer itself. That's how it's treated. Now, I would talk about Leonardo da Vinci, the Uber hacker. I would talk about Grace Hopper and stuff, the one that created debugging, the one that actually started the beginning of COBOL, the one who's done so much work and stuff. But I don't want to because Leonardo had a pretty awesome life and stuff, he was well loved by everybody. Grace Hopper got a destroyer named after her and stuff, and that doesn't fit my narrative and I'm trying to manipulate your emotions, okay? So we'll ignore those people, okay? So what happened? What happened these long time ago? These are inventors. We call them inventors. We call them artists. They're hackers. That's what it was about. When did we become the villain in the story? I mean, seriously, because these are the crimes of hackers. I'm not going to talk about if they deserved it or not. I'm just going to read off some of the sentencing. You got Jeremy Hammond, 10 years for hacking. You got Weave, 10 years for hacking. It was overturned because he was doing directory transversal. So wget is not a crime. It's like you got Max Ray Butler, 13 years for hacking. Roman Vega, 18 years for hacking. Albert Gonzalez, 20 years for hacking. Let's compare. Malik Richmond, 1 year for rape. Gerhard Becker, 1 year for involuntary manslaughter of a firefighter. Trent Mays, 2 years for rape. Oh, by the way, Malik Richmond, he's already out and back on his football team at school, so good for him. Seth Hornberger, 3 to 6 years, voluntary manslaughter. Don't forget Jessica Ferratio, 5 years for the murder of a 23-month-old toddler. She bashed his head in while she was babysitting him. I've gotten to the point where I have jokingly, in a sad way, have said, if you want to commit a computer crime, make sure there's a dead body next to you so you'll get a lighter sentence. It's like, this is what happens. We like being the mysterious unknown hackers. We like being those guys that are like, ooh, that cool. It's like, I don't know what they do. Guess what? Juries are made of people. And what people don't understand, they fear, and what they fear, they try to destroy. So good luck with that. And I've got one of the biggest insights that I've gotten after one of these talks. A guy came up to me and said, and this is so tragically sad and true, he said, Jayson, the reason why hackers are getting worse sentences is because trials and juries, they know they're more familiar with murder. We've gotten thousands of years of being comfortable and understanding about people killing each other and raping each other and assaulting each other. That's stuff that we know about. Hacking is new. Hacking is different and unknown. So we're more afraid of that, so we're going to attack that more. And I'm like, thanks for the information, but it's like it was really a bummer for the rest of the day thinking about it. Sorry about that, guys, because I just shared it with you. But let's talk about some more criminals. What about these criminals? And I'm not talking about the operating system. I'm talking about the actual criminal activity that they did, okay? They actually confessed to breaking into C-Cubes, going and getting the administrator password, they won't say how, even though statute of limitations is over, and trying to steal computer time on their network. They admitted and confessed to a crime, so they were charged. No, they weren't. They were told they couldn't have any more computer time at the school. So good for them. It's like, what about these guys? These guys are straight up hood, okay? These criminals and stuff were dealing on the street. They were dealing in boxes and stuff, that you could actually steal services that were supposed to be paid for a company. They were defrauding a major corporation of their money and profit. Because they hated the phone service so much. They hated the phone company. So it's like, they showed us. Everybody like their new iPhone iOS upgrade? I'm just checking. So, cool. So that's how we treated criminals back in the day. That wasn't 200 years ago, people. 40, 50 years ago. That's how it was done. What about 4 years ago? 2010, another young man who had already founded a multi-million-dollar company broke into a utility closet at the MIT. He hooked up a laptop to the campus network and downloaded 4 million academic journal articles, most of them in the public domain, from a paid archive to which he had a subscription. He was arrested, indicted twice on the multiple counts of fraud, and at a trial that was to have begun in April, could have faced 50 years in federal prison and a $1 million fine. His name was Aaron Schwartz, and he took his life. He was hounded to death over the prosecution of this crime. That's not okay. That is where we've gotten to a state now, that's what hackers are seen like. That's the result, because they're criminals. And where is this coming from? Where do we see this? Look at this. Take a moment to, this is how they see us. This is how the media represents us. Look at those three in the lower left corner. I think those are the Nazgul coming at me. I really want to throw a ring at them and stuff, It's like, that's horrible. This is how we're seen. This is how it's represented. I've got a computer room. My lab at home has got its own air conditioning unit in the window, okay? It has never been so cold in my room that I've had to have a hoodie with the hood up and a ski mask on. Ever. Okay? And it's like, and you make fun and you say, look at these looters. Where do they get this kind of stuff? Where do they get these imageries from? Well, we help sometimes. Sometimes we help give them that because we like, being cool. And I'll be honest with you and stuff, it's like, in high school, I was not the cool one. Okay, well, in junior high, I wasn't the cool one. Elementary, okay, I was never cool. Okay, ever. But that's okay. But it's like, but we want to be cool. And it's like, in Miko Hippen, I told him I had to make fun of Miko and stuff, because the guys in the other one are probably Mossad and I'm scared of them. So we had to make fun of Miko too. But so we want to try that and we want to create that image. So it's like, but where else do they get it? They get it from the media. They see these things and they see stuff like this. Glenn Beck criticizes watchdogs for promoting hacking. What the heck is wrong with us? What the heck is wrong with him? Being on the wrong side of Glenn Beck is being on the right side of history as far as I'm concerned, my personal opinion, okay? That's the way I see things, okay? Because it's this uninformed fear-mongering that causes it. And I would love to say that that's a very witty reply, but Bravo Hacks took the cake. He wrote, I hear Watchdogs teaches you how to hack, going to expense for educational training purposes and submit for CISSP creds. To me, that was the best reply to Glenn Beck ever, okay? So that's what happens. Things like that is what happens when we engage. When we engage, we can inform. And so, but the press doesn't always like that. Here's a great example.
So here's going to be turned off. I don't know how to roll up this burden on that. Computer hackers. That's including hacker cracking, hacker wargaming, and a lot of capabilities. And they told me this internet. what about whatever? We're trying to be good here. Oh, that's next week. LOL. And everyone like, I didn't. You didn't have to like, I did.
But guess what happened? Iron Geek saw it. So he decided to tweet out saying, hey, everybody, there's a thread here you might want to check out and add some of your own comments. And we added some comments. And you know what the majority of our comments were? We informed, we taught, we showed them what it meant. We tried to educate. We tried to give them information. We tried to give them a more valued, informed opinion. So Sterling Riggs Jerkoff did the only proper thing that he could do after the narrative was hijacked by truth. He deleted the thread. Those are the only 3 screenshots in existence of that actually happening. So now you know why he's called Jerkoff. So there you go. But guess what else? That's a skewed perspective. That is a stereotype that we cling to because the media tells us to. And I am guilty of the same thing. I am a hypocrite. I am also a hypocrite. I'm honest about it. Doesn't make me less hypocritical, but at least I'm honest about it. Because I love making fun of this. The hot coffee lady. Oh my gosh, my coffee's too hot. I spilled it. Oh my gosh, give me money. Right? That's what we were told. That was all the talk show hosts are talking about, the hot coffee lady. The reason why you have to understand now that fire's got a warning label saying that it's hot and you're not supposed to drink shampoo is because of this lady, right? I mean, she was a laughing stock of the country because she got her $2.9 million from McDonald's. Poor Ronald. There's only one problem with that narrative. It's not true. She received 3rd-degree burns over 15% of her body requiring skin grafts. McDonald's at the time was using serving coffee at temperatures of 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. When she was injured, she asked them all she asked for was her emergency bills paid. They gave her $800, no fries with that, and stuff, and say, there you go, be happy about it. It's like she fought them in court. Those people highlighted in pink were also admitted to the emergency room for scalding a coffee as well. She went to court. She fought them for that. The jury awarded her $2.9 million. That is not an absurd amount. What they did was they calculated 2 days of coffee sales. That's just 2 days for the profits of coffee, not including the Happy Meals, okay? Just 2 days of coffee sales. That's what she got. She saw less than 500,000 of that. But I loved making fun of her. Guys, I have met the McDonald's coffee lady, and she is us. We are letting the media drive the narrative. We are letting the public drive the narrative of who we are. And until we start changing it, that's what they're going to see. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because guess what? We're worse than that. We love, let's start off with the loathing part. We loathe being seen as criminals. Who wants to be seen as a criminal? Who wants to be seen as a hacker, as a bad guy? We don't like that. We get angry about that. But we, at the same breath that we talk about, I hate being seen as a criminal, the next one is saying the police are a bunch of fascists, the police are nothing but bad news. Is that the truth? Take a hard look and understand that that is not the case. There are 800,000 police officers in this country. You give me a sample of 800,000 neurosurgeons and tell me that they're 100% all good. You give me a sample pool of 800,000 firefighters and you tell me they're all good. You give me a sample pool of 80 lawyers and you tell me that they're all good. Okay? They're more publicized, And we have seen a lot of publicized bad actions. I've included some. I'm being honest and fair. I've included pictures of police officers doing wrong because they are out there. But at the same time that we acknowledge that, we have to understand that there are cops out there doing good. These pictures they didn't pose for. These weren't the pictures they were expecting to hit the internet. But these are pictures of police officers helping, protecting and serving, putting the shoes, buying shoes for a homeless man. He wasn't looking for the cameras. He didn't know one was there taking the picture. The police officer helping the lady with his groceries. He wasn't looking for a camera to take a picture of that. The police officers that delivered a pizza for a guy because the pizza driver was in a car wreck and they delivered the pizza that was in there for him wasn't expected to get their picture taken. The people that were that got the pizza asked them to. All these pictures were police officers selflessly doing their job, trying to help others, except for the center one where it was a young officer trying to feed a young child that didn't have enough money for his meal. His reward, he steps out of the restaurant and he is dead now. Shot and killed. That was the last thing that he did, was to pay for that boy's dinner. That's their job. That's what they live with. But we like to, it's convenient for us to call them fascist. It is convenient for us to say everybody in that group we have to watch out from. And guess what? Stop getting so mad then when everybody lumps us up as the criminals, when everybody convenient ties us into the same group because we're doing it the same to others. We need to start doing it and learning and being just as tolerant as we want others to be tolerant of us. Because we can be. We can be the change. This is not a negative talk, though it's very ranting. It's not a negative talk. It's a talk about hope. It's a talk about how we're doing the change, how we're doing better. And one of the best ways about that, oh, you kidding me not. Dave's picture's not in here for some reason. I think he hacked my laptop. Because I had a great picture of the hologram of Dave out there with the Fox Chiron on there, because it's like everybody knows Dave, right? You've seen him on Fox News and CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and Fox News and Bloomberg and Fox News and CNET and Fox News. And then the Katie Couric show was a great one with Fox News. And then, I tell you, every time I see him, I expect to see a hologram of Fox News Chiron going under him when I see him in real life. And the mother gets a hologram with Fox News on him. So I don't know if he was trolling me or not with that, but that was awesome. We also have Jake, you've got Javad, you've got Once, you've got Evan Booth, Kaminsky. Brian Krebs is an example of what good journalism is covering this industry. It's like, so there is hope. There is things going on that are helping us out and that are making it better. It's like, but my question to you, my question to this audience is, why not you? Why aren't you being part of that voice? You don't have to be a Dave Kennedy to get on a TV show locally about a current issue. If you have information that you can help give to the public, then it is your job to help give that information to them. That's what we're supposed to be doing here. It's like we're supposed to be teaching others. If you're here and you're not trying to learn to share that message, you're wasting your time. It is about getting information. It is about learning. You don't keep it to yourself. You help others with it. And that's what you can do at your house. There doesn't need to be a movement. There doesn't need to be a group. There can be you. You can be that change. And you need to start doing it. Because if you don't, others will. There are more people out there willing to be that. Willing to be that voice. It is you don't like something, you don't like how you're represented, you don't like how the news, you look at an article and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they said, Bash is the bug. Fix it by educating them. One of the best moments of my career was being on a news station, and it actually made it to air where I said, hackers are not synonymous with criminals. We're talking about criminals here. And they actually aired it. That was my achievement. What about you? Like I said, I'm not trying to start a movement. It's like I have nothing against the Calvary. But what I'm saying is stop trying to wait for somebody else to do your job. It's like 7 a.m. on Sunday morning at DerbyCon, 3 hours before my talk, I created iRonin. It's like, and what it is basically is just this, a website. It is just a website for you to get news sources. For if a reporter wants to talk to you or a news story hits, there's a nice page full of information security resources of news articles and news places that you can get brushed up on it. There's a community where community blogs and different bloggers and people are adding culture and history and other nuanced research about some of the stories that you can talk about. And then media page, which is actually people talking about the hacking culture that are helping that you can learn and show others this is what it means to be a hacker. That's all that's going to be. No one's going to speak and say, I'm part of iRonin. No one's going to say, I'm the guy who speaks for it. No one speaks for it. I don't speak for it. It is a resource site for you to use and become that voice. Be part of the change or stop griping about it. You act like you're powerless. You act like you can just create a parody account on Twitter and that's enough. That's not enough. You can make those changes. Because if we don't become the change, we can't be upset when no one's doing anything about it. You can tell me how much time I get. I'm going to keep ranting. Sorry. So it's like, and we do make good changes. Okay? This is what happens when hackers get involved. One of our own, Barcode, was diagnosed with a severe illness, needed blood transfusions. So what did DerbyCon do? DerbyCon created a blood code. It was for a time the largest blood drive in Nevada state history. The first year of blood code, they weren't prepared for it. The blood lady was in tears because she had to spend, after the first hour of registration, she spent the rest of the day turning people away because they were full. She was actually in tears seeing that kind of action, that kind of movement. And then you've got Thomas Wilhelm, who works with Be the Match and stuff, who tries to help with bone donors. It's like bone marrow donors. So we are trying to get involved in it. And we all know about Johnny Long, right? We're all familiar with Hackers for Charities, great organization. Do we know about the other guy? Not that weird one on the right, but the one in the middle. That's China Eagle. He's the Johnny Long of China. He actually creates computer systems and builds out computer networks for schools in rural China where they're underprivileged and they're not able to get access. He hates criminals. He hates criminal hackers. He thinks they should be more patriotic and more nation state hacking. That's his belief. And I love the look on people's faces here because people are realizing, wait, you can be a patriot in another country? I'm not sure how I feel about that. But that's our culture. We are not divided by borders. We are not divided by anything. We are all one community. Start acting like it. The hacker over in Romania who's trying to work and trying to learn and trying to do good is just as equal, is just as full of worth as a hacker in Long Beach. We should all be understanding that. And also, one of the other ways that we're doing it is we're bringing back the creativity. This is hacking. You've got Dual Core out there and stuff, educating the masses through his music about technology and about IT and about hacking. You've got hacker strips trying to create a comic book and a graphic novel about actual hacking references. You've got Fabs actually hacking sewing machines to create QR codes on socks, which I think was pretty cool. And you got Eddie the Yeti, who's out there that you can go out there right now and purchase some of his art that actually shows you hacker, but I create this as well. That is changing the narrative. That is showing people what hacking truly is. We are inventors, we are creators. And one more thing, importantly, we're breeding. Okay? We're having offspring. And I'm telling you this right now, I do not want to be around 10 years from now if this is the way it's going. My children should see me when I'm walking down the street, or walking through their school like I've done before, they should be able to say, this is my daddy, he's a hacker, and not have a look of dread go over the person's face. That's not the way it should be. And that's happened before to other people, and it breaks my heart. This is an industry we want our children to be a part of. This is an industry where they want them to be proud of what we do. My children should look at me and say that I'm a hacker and be proud of it because I'm an inventor, I'm a creator, I'm an artist, I do this. Not because I'm the one that steals their school children's credit cards and their daddy's bank accounts. It's like, that's what we need to start doing. And I've got some horrible news for you people. Hacking isn't about training. You're born a hacker. You are not a special snowflake in this special snowflake blizzard. Everybody is a hacker. Everybody, you are born with it. It is part of who you are. It is in your DNA. Until we start telling everybody around us that they are hackers too, they're just not utilizing it, or that they're hackers too, but they're in a different field, they are going to keep thinking that we're the odd ones. And that does not help, because hackers are everywhere. Hackers are from the minute you are born. This is just a small example of it. You've got Ethiopian kids that were given an unopened crate. Within 5 months, they circumvented the security controls, taught themselves English, and was able to hack the tablets to do what they wanted to do with it. That is the very definition of hacking. You've got Ruben that was at DerbyCon yesterday giving a presentation, actually popping shell in a live demo, which some presenters actually fell at, and that was his first time on stage giving a talk. You've got so many other examples, but they're getting ready to tackle me, so I won't go through all of them. But there's so many other examples of young kids out there who are trying to learn, trying to be a positive influence in this culture, and we call them inventors. Start calling them what they are. They're hackers. And that road is hard. And I understand this. And I'm, like I said, I'm finishing this talk. It's like, and I understand that this community is hard. We don't know how to communicate properly sometimes. We're very introverted. We have those issues, and I'm sorry about that. But we need to learn to get better, okay? We need to be able to understand that we can reach outside of our community. We can reach outside of our iPhones. And one of the main reasons why I put a Wendy Nather quote in there was because Wendy Nather asked me to. So, well, now Pure Hate's about to get up here, so I'm really about to get tackled. So let's finish this real quick. I'm done. Drop mic.